Get ready for war. Those are the words of General Sir Gwyn Jenkins, stated that there can be no excuses. The Royal Navy must be prepared. So of course the First Sea Lord, this man here, General Sir Gwyn Jenkins, has issued a frank warning about the Royal Navy and the country of England obviously fighting off Russia. Basically, they have oppressors obviously in the east, and I believe this is a full racket. Again, of course we know war is a racket. Major General Smedley Butler from World War II stated years ago that all these wars after World War II were basically to fight, for money and corporations. So this seems like a big hoax once again. It seems absolutely crazy that, as he says specifically, war is a possibility and the Royal Navy must be ready. Also, it seems like they're making these defenses kind of to threaten off people if they're thinking about invading. Of course, we saw the Russian warship off the coast of Scotland recently that's surveying the area. Some think that it's obviously threatening the country of the UK, but here we can listen to General Jenkins and see what he says about it.
I genuinely believe war is a possibility. I really hope it doesn't come. It would be horrendous for all of us, for a bunch of reasons. But our professional job is to be ready. We owe it to our people to be ready, and we owe it to the nation to be ready, and any excuse is not good enough for doing our best to make sure that we're ready.
So that was announced yesterday, and I think mostly from the Royal Navy and the military in the UK, they're doing a little bit of peacocking. They want it to seem like they have this powerful military that's ready to fight off any invaders, when in reality, everybody is probably going to be relying on the US military to fight off Russia or China or any sort of invaders into the country. And of course, on the same day, we have the Chief of the French General Staff, General Fabien Mandon, who says that the French must be prepared to lose their own children. The French must be prepared to go to war once again. Okay, and everyone, of course, is against this, guys. Nobody wants to be fighting wars for these oligarchs and corporations and politicians, these multi-billionaires. Nobody wants to be fighting for these people anymore. We know that war is a racket, of course. Like I said in the beginning, Major General Smedley Butler has 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. He fought with the US Army for 33 years, and he basically said that every war now is just fought for money and resources. In Afghanistan, they had a vein of lithium that was worth over $1 trillion. Of course, they invaded to get rid of the insurgents and the Al-Qaeda and terrorist factions in Afghanistan. But a lot of these wars, especially Vietnam, all these different wars were fought after. A lot of these wars were absolutely fought for money.
Si notre pays flanche parce qu'il n'est pas prêt à accepter de perdre ses enfants, parce qu'il faut dire les choses, de souffrir économiquement parce que les priorités iront à de la production de défense, par exemple. Si on n'est pas prêt à ça, alors on est en risque. Mais je pense qu'on a la force d'âme. La France a toujours démontré sa force d'âme dans les moments difficiles. Et là, on est dans le moment où il faut en parler. Il faut en parler dans vos communes. Parce que spontanément, c'est pas des lectures du dimanche, c'est pas quelque chose d'accessible facilement. On peut avoir le sentiment que c'est loin, et c'est vrai que ça reste loin. La mécanique, c'est pas des chars russes qui débarquent.
So obviously, like the British general, the French general here, Fabien Mandon, is also talking about the threat of Russia invading. And this is pretty terrifying, guys. We obviously had the Irish Armed Forces recently conducting training in Europe, trying to prepare for this sort of EU army. And, it seems like there's a setup here that the EU is going to be fighting against Russia. I mean, who knows, guys? A lot of this stuff is threats. Obviously they're trying to peacock, trying to warn people, don't come near us or else we will retaliate, that kind of stuff. But, why is all this now scaremongering in the news? Like, every general from every EU country is coming out now saying we must be ready to lose a few good men and all this type of thing. It's just crazy stuff, guys. Nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants to fight any of these travesty wars. So what's really happening behind the scenes? And especially most people nowadays don't want to fight for a country that the government and the people, the politicians, aren't being listened to, okay, by the public. Here we have another story, breaking news story from yesterday, 24th November. Halal meat plant owner went to the home of a female worker looking for massage. Work Relation Commission hears. So he's obviously getting sued. He's getting criminally liable here. The work advocate Swilia Novoskolia of Migrant Rights Centre of Ireland said Asba Meats has promised to apply for an employment permit that would allow her to work full-time, but that never materialised. So it says here, the woman who worked for Asba Meats in County Clare was awarded €40,000 for sexual harassment, in the workplace. She said that she was overwhelmed with fear and felt like the businessman was looking for something else. Of course, the businessman, we're going to show you a picture of the businessman here now in a second. She was relying on the firm for a work permit so she could work full-time, and she was desperate for hours. She needed work. She came here, Swilia Novatskova, but so we don't know. I don't know actually who the woman who works for Asba Meats is, but she came here looking for work, obviously very tough in her home country, doesn't say where she's from or anything. And of course, massive sexual harassment in the workplace by these foreign migrants once again. This is the guy here. Tuffy Financial Services Limited had appointed a receiver to Asba Meats in September concerning a debt of around €333,000. So this is the owner of Asba Meats. Tariq Raham Khan has stated there are no fears of job losses at the moment. So this is from a couple of days ago. It says Asba Meats receivership ends as director taking all steps to address all outstanding liabilities. So it all came out in the end, okay, in court, because they're obviously taking this sort of liability to the plaintiff right there. But it is just wild to see these news stories coming every day. Like, nobody wants to fight for a country where we don't have any housing, we don't have any future, there's not much economic resources in this country, everybody's leaving to different countries. Like, who wants to sit here and fight against Russia? Like, you know, we already see the death and destruction that's happening in Ukraine. We don't want to see that all over Europe. You know, completely big no to that. So the last news story of today, this is from a couple of days ago, the 23rd of November. It says here that the person who supplied the Gardaí of their holsters, their gun holsters, is now, I think, being sued, I believe, by the police because they had to get rid of them all. Okay, any holster that was supplied to them from 2013 to 2020 were withdrawn from the following use because of a safety review. And 2 Gardaí actually died because of this. Garda Horkin, a man who was a detective who investigated Stephen Silver, a crazed criminal, I believe, in Castlebar. He went to actually arrest him, and then he took his gun off him and shot him. But then also another guard who shot himself in the leg or the spine, I believe, and really hurt himself so badly that he's actually suing the department. He's actually suing the Gardaí for a ton of money. And it says here that they spent €300,000 plus on these holsters. So now they're spending absorbent cash on these holsters, and they can't even use them. They just shredded them because they're actually not fit for use and they're dangerous. I mean, crazy stuff. You can just look at this holster, guys. If you know anything about weapons or anything, you know, that is not a secure holster. In the US, all the police have triple bolt holsters, so you can't take the gun out of the holster easily. You actually have to do a mechanism to take it out of the holster, something like that, like a triple lock sort of thing. But here, there's nothing. It's just a little leather strap holster, and it's really dangerous, guys. Super, super dangerous. So yeah, now they're getting sued. I mean, the corruption and the lack of talking between parties in this country is crazy, guys. The amount of money being spent on holsters and just different random stuff is just draining the country. And nobody wants to live and fight and die for a country that can't even have proper holsters. How are we going to fight Russia and we can't even get our holsters correct, guys? I mean, this is a joke. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. Become a member today for just €3 per month. Can help push back against the woke Irish mainstream media. And I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.